Thank you guys for being here. Obviously, I want to start by thanking our great fans. I mean, they showed up, they showed out. Just a tremendous day, for our university and for our football program. Obviously, I want to thank Justin Moore and his crew and all those people that put together the concert. Just even pregame, going out there and seeing the great crowd and the fans were excited about what's going on. So thankful for everybody, grateful for the fans, Justin, and all those that worked hard to put that thing together. So that being said, obviously a wrap on spring practice. I wish we had another few weeks of it, but the guys will finish up with exams and then a couple weeks off and then come back for summer conditioning and strength training. But please, I think we took some great steps in a positive direction, almost here 5 months now and got to see the growth. But through every practice, got to see a lot of positives, got to see certain guys step up, still have a ton of work to do. It was a good day to kind of conclude things. Obviously, some back and forth and unique combining the teams the way we did. But ultimately, pleased with the spring. Excited for these guys to catch their breath for 10, 15 days and then come on back and get back to work.
It looks like you split up the rosters pretty good with a 14-13 game. What'd you think about? I mean, it was, pretty balanced, nothing too dramatic, and a couple of big plays on offense and defense, really.
Yeah, and it's one of those, Trez, we went through it, even being smart. Like sometimes I didn't call a sack because I was like, all right, let's extend the play a little bit. And then, sometimes I always said, like, you may have had a third-string right tackle go against Quincy Rhodes. So, just that's all part of the element of when you're trying to rotate, and we want to make sure everybody got snaps. So it wasn't saying they're trying to makeshift it to the best of our ability. But it was pleased. I thought there was good competition. You got to see certain guys step up, certain guys that need to continue to make strides in the right direction. But all in all, listen, it was a pretty competitive day. We weren't sitting there saying, okay, hey, I know a lot of teams will sit there and you get 2 points if you get past the 50 and another. We weren't doing that. We're just trying to put the ball down and play some football. We've done a ton of situational stuff throughout the spring. And so, and to be honest, I was limiting on what we were seeing. I wanted to show our fans a good glimpse of who we are and what we are, but I didn't want to show our 2-minute offense. Didn't want to sit there and do, a bunch of 2-point plays backed up, because some of those things, which they'll have the chance to see during the season, I think it's best that it stays within our program and not necessarily out there for public eyes.
You think about where you are right now with the quarterback competition, and what did you see today?
Yeah, listen, I think, both KJ and AJ have continued to make steps in the right direction. I thought you got to see some positives and some negatives from both today. I think they're going to both continue to master this offense. It's one of those things as they understand where we need to go. The thing that today, which was not good by either of them, was it was the first time we did more huddling. Part of that was we didn't want to be sitting there signaling on the sidelines, just kind of more C2P and the communication of kind of a muddle huddle. I don't know if you've noticed that, but then that sense of urgency to get guys lined up. Now, they may have been out there with a freshman wide receiver saying, hey, no, you're on that side. This is where you need to line up. But the growth process, I think, is there. I think they're both ultra talented. I think you guys got to see some throws today where you'd sit there and be like, man, that's a big-time throw. This guy can be a starter for the Razorbacks and a great quarterback in the SEC. And then other times you said, oh, that read need to happen quicker. They need to step up and do some of those things. So, with what they're limited and obviously with different pieces around them today. But I've been pleased, and listen, I think either one of them gives us a great opportunity to be successful.
Sutton Smith, I don't think he had any carries today. Was that just by design, or is that how it worked out?
Yeah, just how it worked out, not by design. Now, I have seen Sutton carry the ball quite often. He's now in year 5 of college football. I've very rarely am I trying to take care of a guy in the spring, but I know what he's capable of. I've seen what he can do. And a lot of those were RPO pulls. Some were zone read deals. He had, I think, the ball in his hand a couple times on maybe some swing passes and stuff like that. But I know what he's capable of, and we still have very, very high hopes for him.
What did you see today that was very pleasing to you? And then the flip side of that, you mentioned the quarterbacks, but what the flip side of that, what did you see that you didn't like so much?
Yeah, so first off, without getting off topic, I'm serious. I was so pleased with the crowd. It was great, and good job dialing up the weather, so thank you for that. It's happened to be the most perfect day that we could have asked for to dial up for the spring game. I thought the pass rush showed some good things. I think we saw some guys that are able to have the ability to hit the edge. I always say this: if we can get home with 3 or 4 man rush, that's going to be beneficial to our secondary. It's going to allow us to be able to cover a little bit better and do some of those things. And so that was pleasing, right? Because you never know. Sometimes in practice, it may just be a different thing that you put the ball down. It's a certain segmented. It's easy when everybody knows it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, and guys get the tee off, or it's one-on-one pass rush. But the opportunity in a in-game scrimmage in our own stadium to see some of those guys hit the edge, Steven Souls continues to show that he has the ability to rush the passer. Got to continue to make sure he can play on base downs as well. We saw Quincy was able to get home some as well. And, just some positives from that aspect. I think the pass rush showed up. And then, conversely, it's just, okay, hey, can you find 8 to 9 O-linemen that can play? I think in this conference, you're going to need the ability to have guys, I don't know anybody that sits around and says, yeah, we've got, and listen, we love all the O-linemen, what if we end up with 20 on the roster? But I think you sit there and say, do we have 8 that we feel like can start football? And that's where we're going to have to continue to determine that. I thought some of the receivers needed to do a better job making plays on the ball today. I thought the defense ran to the ball. There's some tackles that were missed that weren't as clean as we needed to. And I think part of that is you get certain things. We got to continue to work on angle tackles, right? Guys coming from a different angle that maybe you haven't had that opportunity to practice in a live tackling drill. You can practice on a donut all you want. And, maybe that limited rep that we had of live, it had never been from this angle, from that hash. And so those things got to continue to get cleaned up.
And then the 2-point play, was there in your head how much time was left in the game? That was like, we're going to win the game.
Yeah, so listen, I'll just say this, and I don't know if you guys noticed, like a couple times, we just, like at the end of the first quarter, I just let the series run out. There was never it was, hey, how many plays? That was kind of the ideal thing. So there was never a 2-minute situation. It was, like I said, let's get plays. Hey, the score is what it is. Red had the advantage because they started with the football anyways, right? Like, hey, there was never a kickoff in the second half where White got that extra possession. And so it was more of a thing. And then I don't know if you guys know, so we had multiple people calling plays. So Coach Smith called it, all right, and Coach Stewart called it for the offensive teams. And then defensively, C.J. Wilford and Ron Roberts kind of called it together, and then Darren Wilson and Cannon Gibbs kind of called it together. So it was a mixture of things. I also wanted, for the element of it, Thursday they had 15 minutes, red and white separate. I told the coaches, put in a couple trick plays that we probably will never run. And so, yeah, let me tell you something. If one of those guys brings up that idea in August going into September, that will immediately get nixed. Now, if one of our opponents is watching that, we're definitely running those plays, early September, so they got to prepare for it.
We saw a lot of Cam Settles today. Just what have you thought of his spring overall and then the day he had today?
Yeah, I've been really, really pleased with Cam. He's a young man that I had recruited hard at our last stop, and I just think he's a dynamic back. I think he's one of those guys. You hate to sit there because I think all of our running backs have the ability to catch the football, but he's really good, catching routes. He runs great wheel routes. He's good on screen game. And then he's learned to run north and south. When I remember Cam, I used to sit there and think of, hey, he's a lighter back. No, he's 208 pounds. He's going to be 215 pounds before we know it. He runs hard. He's got great vision. And so I think he's one of those guys that we got to see those gradual steps as he understood this offense. Hey, where's this ball supposed to hit on the inside zone? Where should it hit on the pin and pull scheme? And he continues to understand that. So I've been quite proud of him. He's taken a lot of pride in pass protection as well. So Cam certainly has an arrow going up.
What are your expectations for these guys, especially quarterbacks, but, team overall for the summer? And where do you want to see them when they come back in August?
Well, hopefully I get to see him before August. But, yes, ma'am. I think that this summer, right, a lot of it is now going to understand how we do things in the weight room. We had a great winter conditioning program, winter strength training. But now for a lot of these guys, how can we get them acclimated to the heat? How can we get them to the time on task? Yes, we have the spring football, but now how do we get them running, whether it's the traditional 110s, as much as I enjoyed doing the team, with the groups, everybody knows the War on the Hill. You got to see a little bit of that competition today. I think just going out there and saying, okay, O-line, D-line, you are out there working out together, running together, quarterbacks, wide receivers running. And so continuing as they understand the schemes, right? Let's get everybody on the same page of what this needs to look like. And then going into August, what are we? What are we on offense, right? We kind of threw really 13 different installations at them through the course of spring football, and no different on defense and special teams. So, okay, hey, here's what we think we are. Where does this fit it? And then with those quarterbacks, right, being able to understand the reads and be able to process quicker. It's hard when you're not getting to play much football. We'll have OTAs. Obviously, we won't go against each other, and we won't be in pads. But just can we continue to take steps in the right direction? That's the key. But I know if I know our guys, I know they're going to work really hard. That's the one thing I've been very pleased with is, like, we can hang our hat on the effort they're going to give and the buy-in to what they want to do and do it the right way.
CJ had that huge touchdown catch. What did you make of his day today, and overall, what have you made of his spring?
Yeah, listen, CJ's a young man. He was one of the first guys I had the opportunity to meet with when I got here. And he's one of those guys that even during the downtime of the winter break, right, when everybody went home, man, I had to run him out of the indoor sometimes. It's like, you got to go take care of your body. You know, you had a heck of a season. You did some good things, but you got to take care of yourself. But he loves to work. He loves to grind. He shows leadership abilities as well. And then today, obviously, a tremendous play. And for CJ, it's going to be consistency, right? I think just understanding, hey, what I need to do day in and day out. I've told some of those wide receivers, we have some of these wide receivers that, man, they have a big play that shows up on social media, but where the hell are you on the other 50 plays? And I think for all of our wide receivers, that's my challenge, right? Like, I frankly don't give a darn if you're making one good play. That's great. But what else are you doing? Because if the rest of the time it's a missed assignment, a possible loaf, not blocking, that's not good enough. You're not going to play. And I need all those guys, CJ included, to step up on special teams. And that's not coach speak. That's going to be part of it. Because I think if you look at our wide receiver group as a whole, collectively we got some really good players. We got some good depth. But ultimately, right, who are those guys that are going to be the true playmakers and can do it consistently? And then the rest of those guys, where do they show up on special teams?
And then KJ said that CJ was in the slot today, and that's not somewhere that he's been. What kind of went into that, and what does that kind of say about him?
Yeah, I think it speaks to his intelligence, right? We want wide receivers that don't have to line up just at one spot. Whether you want to call it the slot, the X, the bigger. He's going to be able to have the ability to play two wide receiver spots for us on the field, which is huge, right? The opportunities to get on the field. I think if you're a wide receiver and you say, hey, I only know this spot, man, you're really limiting what you can do, right? Knock on wood, hopefully we don't have too many nicks and injuries during the season, but ultimately the more positions you can play, the better off you are. And that speaks to his intelligence. And that goes all the way back to the fact that he's willing to grind and understand what we're all about is huge.
Looks like everybody that pretty much got a touch today at running back had some pretty decent runs. It looks like it's probably a pretty deep group that you have there, but so much of that success is predicated on the line. How convinced are you right now, whether it's conference play, non-con, that you'll be able to move the ball when running it?
Well, I think first I do. I like our group of running backs. It's one of those positions that you feel pretty comfortable with a lot of those guys getting in there, right? A guy like Jasper, we got to see him do some things as well. We talked about Cam and Sutton, and obviously Braylon running really hard today. And then, even TJ Hodges, the young freshman, I think he does some really good things as well. But I was kind of pleased with the direction of the running back room all spring. But, yeah, it's going to start up front with the O-line. And I want them to be a confident group, but they got work to do. And a lot of it is now, which are the 5, 6 guys that are going to be rotating in there and going playing ball at a high level. We understand that the trenches are real in the SEC, and so our guys got to step up day in and day out. They got to have great off seasons. I want them to continue to help out. And I know you asked about the run game, but their communication and pass pro as well moving forward. But listen, I think we'll be okay. And it's our job to scheme it up the right way to put our guys in the best position. But confidence in the O-line, the running backs, and even the tight ends that we'll be able to get it done.
You mentioned 13 different installations, offense, defense, as far as your scheme goes. How quickly are these guys picking it up, and how quickly are they able to digest it and just read and react?
Yeah, and I think there's the philosophy of it doesn't matter what we know, right? Like, let's give them 50 installs. If it doesn't matter if they don't know it. And so I think it's a fine line. It's one of these, obviously year one, throwing it all out there and seeing what they can pick up and, as you just said, digest. I'd say this, the majority of the guys are picking it up relatively well. Now, there's some guys that are far behind, and we have to help teach them the right way to learn. Hey, are they auditory? Are they visual? Do they need more walkthrough? Are they going to need extra time voluntarily in the off season to learn? Or do we need to simplify the scheme in order to assist them? Now, I also say this. I think when you go in and you learn, if say we've installed 27 different run plays, well, I'm not going to go into a game with 27 run plays, right? We're going to, hey, this is majority of the fronts we'll see, all right? And let's run these 15 runs versus these schemes and prepare for that. So now that takes off 12. Right now they're trying to run against every different look possible. Defense may show up in a 3 down, then a 4 down. And so hopefully you can really narrow it down. And we got to adjust accordingly. We're going to see who our players are and adjust the schemes, offense and defense, based off that.
You already touched on Steven, but he obviously stood out today. How important is it to find a guy opposite Quincy, whether him, Jamonte, Charlie, to just take some pressure off Quincy and step into that role as another pass rusher?
I think it's huge. I think, like I said, I think the ability, if you can just rush 4, will be ideal for us, right? We're going to continue to grow on the back end and see what we're capable of in the secondary. But having those guys, right? And listen, Quincy's got to continue to progress as well. I'm on him probably harder than anybody about he's got to continue to improve on certain things. And last I checked, he wasn't able, not playing 85 plays a game. And so there's got to be a multitude of guys. And you mentioned some of those names that are capable. Yeah, it does. It gives you, it makes you feel better about, okay, hey, we're not just sitting out there with one guy that can possibly rush the passer. Now we got to bring 3 more, plus an extra blitzer, maybe a secondary guy. Now we are going to pressure teams. But we feel more comfortable with the ability for somebody to line up opposite him to get home.
Last year with the defense, we saw a lot of cornerbacks getting beat down the sideline. Today, it seemed like there was a lot of really good coverage on the outside from the secondary. I mean, is that something you've noticed throughout the spring? How happy are you with that unit right now?
Yeah, that's right. But as soon as I answer that, yeah, good coverage, and why are the receivers slow and not getting open, right? So it's kind of like I've talked about all spring. Like you don't want – I'd be pretty disappointed if all of a sudden it was – that the offenses were scoring at will, or if we come away and like, man, there's nothing formulated. It's that fine line. But I have been pleased. I think we talked about you continue to have better corner play, better play in the secondary, getting our eyes where they need to be, and playing a variety of schemes. I think you looked out there today, and however you want to divvy it up, probably 8 different coverages that we were able to do. So that's pleasing. I think the more we can do that, and the more we can cover guys, the better off we are. But I was pleased with the growth, and we got to see a lot of different faces out there.
We did see some drops today. Is that something that has plagued you maybe in camp? Was that a surprise for you today?
Yeah, a little. I think some guys. I mean, call it what you want. It's good to get under the lights, if you will. Right, first time in front of a crowd. Some of these guys are going to get called out because I didn't think they should have caught the ball. And quite frankly, we can't have excuses. We can't have explanations. Some balls were not thrown perfectly, certainly. But if the ball's within our radius and it's there, catch the damn ball. It's what it is. But I thought throughout most of spring ball, we've done a nice job of catching the football. And today I was worried, hey, are we going to have pre-snap penalties? I think we had 1 false start. And then obviously, some unique stuff on some of those trick plays that probably should have been blown dead. But I think most plays, now someone's going to write and tell me I'm wrong, but I think most plays we had 22 guys out there, So that's always a worry when you got guys on different sidelines trying to get into different headsets. But ultimately, to answer your question, the receivers done a pretty darn good job making catches most of the spring.
One more on the CJ touchdown. Did they kind of cook that up themselves, the slot thing, or was a coaching element to that too?
Yeah, well, I think the ability to move him all over is going to be huge for us. It goes back to his intelligence and his ability to learn different spots. So I think we're going to continue to see more of him this spring. CC missed, and he'll be fine. But CC's had a good spring, and he's kind of done the same thing as CJ, been able to play outside, then also in the slot, and then with him not there, it allowed CJ to get more reps there.
Coach, appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.